You've been watching the D&D recap videos. Oh, that's cool. So you're up to date. You noticed that in one, the players got sort of ordered a ship that was going to be built and delivered to them, a big galley. Yeah, and the problem with that is I needed to build it myself, so I guess it's time to do that. Hello and welcome to the Battle and Barrow. Yes, and another terrain crafting video. Yes, back last year in season 1 of my D&D campaign, the players commissioned a Galleon ship to be built for them, and the reason it was commissioned and not just given is because I needed time to build it myself, and I haven't found that time, and I guess now is time to give them their ship. Now, the way I see it, I had a number of different options available to me. The first one being, I just buy a ship that's to scale and big enough. There are two that I saw that would be suitable. They are made by WizKids, and it's the Falling Star, and by Reaper Miniatures, and it's Sophie's Revenge. The problem is I couldn't find, they were either the WizKids one I just couldn't find in my country where I am now, in the UK. I just couldn't find it for sale, and if I did, it would be expensive, but you know, in the 100 plus 195-ish area, and it's just a bit too out of my price range that I could justify it with my wife. Sophie's Revenge, I did find it somewhere at Mighty Lancer Games, but again at £200, a bit too out of my price range, although they both look lovely and stunning, and if you do have the cash, recommend getting one. I think there's only one left on Mighty Lancer Games if you did want Sophie's Revenge. The second option I could see was taking an existing cheaper ship and adding to it and converting it to suit my needs. I sort of looked at a video on YouTube that took a Playmobil ship and did this, and the results were pretty darn cool. The problem is it's a few years old, and now the Playmobil pirate ship is super expensive, leading us into the same problem as the first one. It's just too much for my wallet. So the another option would be to scratch build it myself, and because of the price, this is what I was sort of leaning into myself. I was going to sort of looked at the WizKids and the Sophie's Revenge ships, and I sort of drawn up plans of how I was going to make it. I got a few parts in ready to do it, and then I stumbled across something, and we're leaning back to the second one, and that is converting something else and sort of changing something to suit our needs, and that's where TT Combat comes in. I was looking at their MDF kits for something else actually, and stumbled across they do galleons, and this is the Patrician's Galleon, and so I ordered one, and they come in MDF sheets that when you unwrap, oh, I just love the smell of burnt MDF. Now, the problem is with TT Combat is whilst they are really affordable, but really easy to put together in most cases, this is quite a difficult build. It's probably one of the most difficult ones looking at their symbols on their instructions. But once you paint them, the detail sort of lightly etched in any detail work. So once you paint them, you're going to lose that. So my plan here is to take these MDF kits to the next level, improve on them. So I'm going to follow the instructions for the most part and then veer off. The first thing I'm going to do is with the deck. I want to score that deck patterning, so I'm going to be painting this, and whilst it is etched in, it's really lightly etched in, so I'm just going to go over that same way as I would do with foam. So I'm going to go over it with a knife first, then my sharp end of my sculpting tool, and then my blunt end of my sculpting tool to really open up that groove. Then using the sharp end of the sculpting tool, I am going to scratch and score a wood texture into the wood. It's MDF, it needs a grain. After this, I'm going to continue on following the instructions and gluing bits together. Once I've glued the decking together into almost single piece, I want to do something for a future part of this build, and I think it's going to be a multi-part series, so it might be part 2. You'll see the fruition of this come through. I'm going to take some pieces of scrap paper, put the decking on, and just trace the deck on, and just trace around it. So I've got an outline of the top part of the decking. I'm going to put that to one side. Next up, once I've got the deck sort of upside down, I'm going to quickly score in a deck pattern as I've done on the top part. I just want to see how this takes paint and what colour paint, how different colour paints look. So I'm still not too sure my colour scheme. So, and this is a good way to just test my theory that if I score this pattern in and paint it, it's still going to be noticeable. And yeah, so now I've got some results and some ideas. It's going to look good. The grooves do show up, so we can carry on with the build. This involves constructing the hull. Because this comes in A4 MDF sheets, and it's way bigger than the A4, it's about 600mm long, so you have to, the deck comes in almost 2 halves, and because of this there's an unsightly gap in the deck, so probably down to my skills of not doing it properly, but that will have to be filled in the future with some wood filler, which I'm imagining I might have to do this in a few places anyway, but we'll get to that bit later on. So continue with the build as is, and I get to the cabin, wall and door, and again this has details that are etched in that I will lose once it gets painted, so I'm going to add some cardstock to make a door frame on the outer wall. On the door itself, I'm going to add some thinner cardstock. The door frame was made using chipboard. The sort of peephole frame is going to be made from cereal box card because it's slightly thinner. I'm also going to make up some green stuff and sculpt, and I'm not very good at sculpt the detail work that's on the door onto it using green stuff to add a bit of 3D-ness to it. I do really need to level up my green stuff skills. They are quite rudimentary and poor, as you can see here, but hopefully once this is painted, it'll look alright. And this is how the piece all looks when it's all together. Not too bad. Not too bad. The sides of the cabin will also have some sort of a fleur-de-lis thing embossed onto it, so I green stuffed that too. Now at this stage the hull of my ship was a bit wonky. I don't think the glue had took to sort of glue it in 2 halves together, so I had to do an emergency glue using some hot glue gun. I just sort of squirted into the gaps, squidged it together, and then squirted underneath, forming a sort of a piece that's holding 2 bits together. Hopefully that makes sense. You can see here in the footage what I was doing or attempting to do. Onto the sides of the cabin, there is some more green stuffing to do, but there are also windows here. I could just leave them, and but then you'd be able to sort of see inside, and even though it'd be enclosed and dark, you'd be able to see that there's no interior. But what I want to do is add lights to this anyway, and I'm going to do this in the same way as my lighting houses video, which you can watch here, there we go, up there, by clicking there. So this is just using a bit of clear plastic for the window, so when it's on your tabletop and you're moving around lights, it reflects and looks pretty cool. We're going to diffuse that by using a wet water palette sheet. You can use tissue paper for this, I dare say, or tracing paper, or even parchment, baking parchment. I just had this because I got loads of these I don't use. So you're going to cut these to size, glue them in, and that will act as our window and diffuser. So we're getting near to the end of this part of the build where I want to leave it, and we're going to deal with those gaps. So I'm going to use some wood filler, and I'm going to fill in any gaps I can see, especially along the railings where it is multiple parts sort of bending around. There are gaps that are just designed to be there, but with wood filler you can use them to fill those in. So I'm just going to squidge a bit into the gap and then wipe away any excess, and do the same all over the railings. Occasionally I got some into the grooves I scored in, so I just got my sculpting tool and removed any that got in there. I'm also going to use the wood filler to fill in the hole, the gaps where the 2 bits join, and again add in any detail that I filled in that I didn't want filled in. And that is where we're going to leave this part. If we have a look at it now, we've got the main build done. What's left to do is the sails. Now these sails are made in the kit, are made from bits of flat wood that are kind of scissored together like that, and I think there's 6 of them, and so it looks okay, but we can make it look better by using some balsa dowel. And the reason I'm leaving it here because I want to get this video out, and the balsa dowel hasn't arrived yet. So next video we will be making those sails and doing a few other bits and pieces, and then adding some more detail such as steering wheel, anchors and so forth, but that's for the next video, and we'll also paint it. This is how it looks. This is where we're going to leave it now. So what it looks like. I'm super pleased with this build. It is a massive ship for, I think it cost me £25. Really pleased to see how much what it's going to look like when it's painted. So if you're interested in that, have a look when that video comes out, and if you are interested and not subscribed, subscribe to the channel, so then you'll be and hit the bell, because then you'll be notified when that video comes out. Thank you to all people who view, subscribe and like and comment on my videos. You guys are awesome. Thank you to the my patrons who make stuff like this possible, for allowing me to buy all the gear and not having to beg and plead with the purse keeper of my household, or as I call her, my wife. I really appreciate that, guys. Thank you. But until the next video, guys, stay safe, take care, bye bye.